Alright, let's take a look at the Abyssal deck. So the main thing we're looking for in the mulligan is that which lies below. The whole strategy for the game kind of hinges around that, so we found one. So we'll mulligan the other one, we only want one of them, and then we don't want two of the Cthulhu, so we'll mulligan those, keep these other three. Okay, Swarm of Death, Jaws of the Depths. This is a good opener. It's really going to come down to how aggressive of a start the Spider deck has. But we can get Jaws down on 3, or on 2, Swarm down on 3, get it killed off, and the next turn play a second Swarm, and it'll summon the original one from the graveyard. And that should hopefully be enough to let us equalize a little bit, or stabilize rather. Okay, and if we make it a turn 5, we can just clear their board and kind of reset, so this is looking pretty good. If we can stabilize early, then we should be able to take this, because we definitely have the better mid to late game out of the two. Okay, that cost him 2, so that's an ambushing, which is okay. I think we just swing this to try to take something off the board. Cool, we took off the 2-1. Right, so next turn we'll get to summon 2 of those with Rush. I don't even know if we'll Rush. We may just keep them as blockers to block the 2 4/4s to minimize the damage we're taking early game. And then Armageddon to clear his board. I think that's the play. Alright, we're up to 2 depth counters, and now we're at 5 mana, so we can start resummoning things from our graveyard with this. And that should kind of let us turn the corner on them, right? Because it's going to go up to 4 depth counters now, so now it can summon these Swarm of the Depth, or Swarm of Death. You can resurrect them. Okay, so yeah, we just clear their board here. They've got two 2/1s, which is annoying, but we've got a really strong turn next turn. So as long as you don't play anything too over the top here, that's not too bad. Okay, that's an ambushing, so that's probably a bit of a problem, but it's okay. Alright, so we will resurrect first, and then we'll play Hunger, which will come in as a 5/1 with Rush. Let's see what we get on the resurrection. Yeah, that's what we were hoping for. There we go, and a 5/1. Okay. Swing, and that'll get us 3 more depth counters. Okay, cool. Just leaves him with the Darkwood, which we're not particularly worried about. We are getting closer to 10 depth counters, which will let us do the Cthulhu finisher, which is really strong. If we have 10 depth counters when we summon this guy, he has Rush, and he fills the board with copies of himself, so you get 5 10/10 rushers, which is enough to win most games. Let's see, yeah, so we'll resurrect. Yeah, 2 Swarm of the Depths is great. And we'll get a Jaws down, and he'll get a buff because we already have a Jaws in the graveyard. And we'll swing with the 2 3/1s. Okay. Cool, we took out the 5/2. So we're going to take a little bit of damage here, because we can only block 1 of these. That's okay, we're at 9, so we should be able to get Cthulhu down. We just have to survive 2 more turns. Okay, we're not running AoE, so this guy doesn't really matter much. We definitely blocked the 5/3 here. That puts us to 10. So now we just have to get to 10 mana, and we can Cthulhu. So if we survive 2 more turns, we'll have the finisher we need. Okay. Let's definitely do this. Who do we get? Okay, good. Swarm of Death is great. And then we'll probably Plague Cultist, just to have a solid blocker down, and we'll swing in with the 2 3/1s. Okay, so we've removed most of his threats. He's got 1 card in hand. He's got this guy, which is going to flip. Doesn't really matter what that is, though, even if it's ambushing. Yeah, ambushing, but that still leaves us with a blocker. He's got a 4-2 down. Okay, I think we've definitely turned the corner. Let's start here. Yeah, Swarm of Death is great. Play that. Play a Rogue Deep 1. Another Swarm of Death. Great. And we'll swing in with these three. Should help us remove his board. And we kind of want to clear most of our board. So next turn we can Cthulhu and swing in for just an absurd amount of damage. Okay, so he's just swinging with the 5-1 or 4-1 will block. And now we get the Cthulhu finisher on an open board. It doesn't get much better than that. Yep, that looks like probably lethal. We'll just swing in with the 4 Cthulhus. I think 40 damage will do it. Alright, so that was kind of a perfect game with the Abyssal deck. We stabilized in the early game, started building up our depth counters, used the That Which Lies Below for value in the mid game, and then built to a big Cthulhu finisher. Let's upgrade our Swarm of Death, make him cost 2. Alright, let's take a look at the Abyssal deck that we just used. So it's all kind of built around That Which Lies Below. So anytime an Abyssal creature is sent to our graveyard from play, it gains a depth counter. And then for 5 mana, as many times as we want during a turn, we can resurrect an Abyssal creature. It just has to have cost less than or equal to the depth counters we currently have on That Which Lies Below. So we kind of couple that with a whole bunch of early game Abyssal creatures. So Jaws of the Depths is a good one. It'll come down as a 2/3, and then it gains +1/+1 for every Jaws of the Depths in our graveyard. So as the game goes on, it gets more and more powerful. Same kind of thing with Hunger of the Depths. It has Rush, so it can attack the turn it's summoned. It's originally just a 1 mana 1/1, but it gains +1 for every depth counter we have. So later in the game, if we're playing it from hand or resurrecting it, it could come in as like a 7 or 8/1. They can swing immediately, so that's very powerful. And then similarly, Swarm of Death. It's a 3/1 with Rush, and then it'll summon a copy of itself from our graveyard. So once you get 1 or 2 of these killed off, every time you play one, you get 2 3/1s with Rush. And that couples really well, as you saw in the game, with resurrecting them, where it's like almost every turn you can guarantee you have 2 3/1s with Rush on top of whatever else is on your board, which really just helps kind of keep your opponent off of the board as you build towards your finisher. And then just some kind of utility cards to help. Bottom Feeder will buff your Abyssal creatures. Kraken, if you make it into, if you're playing against like more of a value or a later game deck, this gives you a later game advantage where you get this down, and then when you start resurrecting your stuff with That Which Lies Below, they'll get buffed up, and any that don't have Rush will gain it. And then the Angler costs 1 less for every depth counter you have, so in the mid to late game, he can be a 0 mana 6/6, which is really powerful. Also a good resurrection target. Rising Tide, Sink All Ships just gives us access to additional Abyssal creatures. And then, as you saw in the game, Cthulhu is the perfect finisher. So throughout the course of the game, as long as you can get to 10 depth counters, you play him on an empty board and you get 5 10/10s, all with Rush, which can clear most games. So yeah, that's the Abyssal archetype.